Hi, Cathy Brooks here once again at the AlwaysOn Innovation Summit, talking with yet another of the speakers, Dave Goldberg from Yahoo. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
No, thank you for having me.
What does innovation mean to you?
I think innovation is a kind of word that gets overused a lot of times, particularly in Silicon Valley. I think that you can say everything is innovative, but I think when I think about innovation, it's really about how somebody looks at a problem. In particular for me, I look at consumer problems, but I think it's broader than that. But how you look at a problem and come up with a very unique way of solving that problem for somebody. And I think that, in my business, in music, it's been about the consumers had a problem in numerous ways getting access to the music they wanted. And people have come up with lots of different innovations to make it possible for people to have a much better experience with the music, to discover music more easily, to access it more easily. Those are all innovations. I think that it's, Apple didn't invent digital music players. Right. But they get credited with the innovation, and I think that's appropriate because they solve the consumer's problem in a way that some of the earlier people didn't. And so I think innovation correctly applied is, how do you solve that problem? It's not necessarily the person who has the first idea, it's not the patent. It's how do you actually successfully solve people's problems?
You've been around Silicon Valley for a while. How has Silicon Valley changed, or has it?
I think it's changed. I think, when I first started my company, which I then sold to Yahoo, when we were raising money up here in '94, I guess, it was a much smaller, more parochial sort of environment. Some people might say that was better, more collegial, but it was also much more narrow. It's like if you couldn't start a company unless you were like a software engineer or a pharmaceutical researcher, or you had to have like the specific knowledge yourself in order to start the company. And then they would sort of eventually bring in professional management, but in order to start the company, I think one of the things that's changed for the better is anybody who's really got a great idea now, and it doesn't have to be in specific, very narrow spaces, can actually find money, start a company, build a company. I still think that there's a myopia in this area around consumer-based businesses. That right now there's a little bit of a flurry around consumer-oriented businesses, but I think in general it doesn't fit with the model of Silicon Valley, which is, you build a small company, they're going to sell stuff to larger companies. You have helped start those larger companies. You know all the people, the larger companies. So if you're a VC or if you're starting that other company, you have all these built-in relationships, and that works really well. It doesn't work as well in the consumer-based stuff. It's sort of like there's less leverage in the Silicon Valley model.
Is that changing? Do you think that's changing?
I think it's changing a little bit, but I think the number of large consumer-based companies that have sprung out of Silicon Valley have been accidents. I mean, Google, eBay, Yahoo. Apple's probably the only one you could say was really started to be that kind of company and really focused on being a consumer-oriented company. I mean, Google certainly wasn't. Google was like a search algorithm, and they were going to license it to other people. They were going to be a business-to-business sort of experience. So
the market happened to them.
Yeah, I mean, they're smart guys and very successful, and they adapted and built a great consumer business. But I think that's antithetical to the way to a lot of Silicon Valley and the way it's built. And I look at Netscape as what could have been the greatest consumer media company on the internet, except someone said to them, no, you gotta sell software, and you shouldn't be in the media business. You shouldn't. And so I think that mentality has changed somewhat, but I don't think it's completely gone. And I think there's a lot of people who would wish that sort of consumer-based businesses and advertising-supported things and media would go away when they can go back to focusing on core technology. So I would say it's shifted somewhat, but I wouldn't say that in general. I think that the media businesses are more comfortable, for example, in Southern California than they are up here.
Well, what about entrepreneurs? How have the entrepreneurs in this wacky world changed?
like I said, I think entrepreneurs it's more open for entrepreneurs from all different kinds of backgrounds. And that's great. I think that's fantastic. It allows for a lot more ideas, a lot more experimentation. I think entrepreneurs, you know, I think we went through a stage in the kind of late 90s where everyone was an entrepreneur, and that might not work so well either. I think that, but I think what you're seeing now is kind of a good middle ground where entrepreneurs are coming with good business ideas, and not all of them are going to work always, but I think you've got kind of less hysteria than we had before.
Different kind of hysteria, perhaps.
There's a different kind of hysteria, but it's less crazy. There's not the whole IPO bubble and where people are just, I don't think as an entrepreneur you should start a company to make money. I think most people who are very capable as entrepreneurs can probably find a lot of better ways to make money on a risk-adjusted basis than starting a company. I think that so you start a company because you have this burning need to fulfill this consumer demand, as Chad talked about with YouTube or eBay or all these different things. Like, that's one reason to start a company. Another reason to start a company is because you've got a really great group of people you want to work with, and this is the best way to do it. I mean, there's a bunch of good reasons to start, but I think a bad reason is to make money, because I think that's not actually, it doesn't work in the long run, and there's much better ways to make money. It's better to go work at Goldman Sachs if you just want to make money. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to work really hard, but you're going to make a lot of money. But you're going to work really hard as an entrepreneur, and there's a good chance you won't make any money. So I think entrepreneurs getting the froth out of the market has kind of changed who wants to be an entrepreneur, and it's made it less about get rich quick and more about, hey, I want to build a real sustainable business. And so I think most of the businesses you're seeing people start today, yeah, some of them are being built to make money, but more of them are being built, how do I build a long-term sustainable business? And that's the right reason to start a business.
Well, Dave Goldberg, thank you so much for sitting down to chat today in our lovely verdant studio here outside the AlwaysOn Innovation Summit, where there are, as you heard, lots of trucks.
Exactly.
Backing up. I think those are actually the catering trucks that may be bringing lunch.
Look at that as sound effects.
It's sound effects. Ambient. It's better than the hawk. We've got a hawk. I'm a little worried about that. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And tune in for more of the speakers from here at the AlwaysOn Innovation Summit.